Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this Mongil Star Dive video. So in this Mongil Star Dive video, we're going to talk about some of the mistakes which you want to avoid. Some of these mistakes are committed by myself, and hopefully this video can help you prevent those mistakes from happening to your account. And without further ado, let's talk about the very first thing. Okay, so pointer number one. This is something which I spoke about in a previous video, and somebody actually messaged me to tell me that I actually made a mistake because the person mentioned you can salvage the artifact right here. So I mentioned that I regretted a little bit in committing on this Surging Conviction artifact because right now I'm running Sangun's exclusive artifact, held close by nature, and even if this ability doesn't work on the other fighters, I can still equip it simply because it has a higher stats with higher attack and crit rate, and the ability to be really fair even on a 3-star one is quite limiting. So it's not like really powerful in the late game anyway, so this is where this is a wasted resource, right? So somebody mentioned you can just salvage it. So let's take a look at the salvage button and see whether or not you can. So these are all my artifacts in the inventory, and as you guys can see, there's no level 40 artifact. So this means that whatever resources I committed onto that level 40 conviction is wasted. So this is what I meant by do not overcommit into your artifacts which you're not going to main, because like you don't get the resource back. So this is number one. So if we take a look at the other tabs, if we want to try to salvage the equipment, for example, all the 1-star equipment, I think equipments work in the same manner. If it's upgraded, you can't actually salvage it. So like, so far, let's see. Yeah, we can salvage it by grade. But if let's say if we were to upgrade the equipment, so let's say we're just going to do an experiment here, just to show you guys. Enhance this Frost of Touch by 1 level. Or maybe just throw 1 stone over here. So right now it's level 6. Okay, pretty cheap. And then we try to salvage it. So you can see that even on the equipment portion, once you upgraded the equipment, you can't actually salvage it for the materials. So equipments as well as artifacts, they are resources and also skill levels. They are basically resources that once you committed will not be able to be refunded. And that's where you want to think twice on the investment of this stuff. Right? So skill is also something you cannot refund, especially past level 10. There's actually this advanced combat theory book over here, which is very rare. And then same thing for the artifact portion. So for the monsterling portion, this is something which I talk about where you can actually refund it in one way or another. So let's say if you want to level this, you can use other upgraded monsterling as material fodder to actually get some of the EXP you committed. So there's more leeway, more room for error. But at the same time, I realized that the cost of upgrading to level 60 is really big. Like it costs like a few million to upgrade to level 60. So this is where, let's say, if you are not very sure if this is a monsterling you will use in the long run, then I guess you might not want to overcommit to it in the first place as well. So that's with regards to the resource management portion. Do not overcommit to stuff which you might not use in the future, or you are just going to use as like a passing by kind of unit or something. So that's where you won't waste all those resources being locked up in some unused unit in the future. Mistake to avoid number 2 is the request bot feature. So what I realized for the boss spawns in general is that there are certain boss which spawns really frequently, like Chappy Mama, Ring Slime. So I'm not sure about the exact spawn timer, but they always appear every single day, at least once per day. So you are definitely able to encounter them and farm their monsterling or even their upgrading material. So for the request bot, you should actually use this to refresh for the tougher to respawn bosses. More specifically, the late game bosses. So I'm just going to use 21,000 to talk about it. Okay. So things like, for example, Plain Minotaur, things like Onse, Manwall. So these are all the late game bosses. So I think a good benchmark will be for monsterlings above level 35 or level 30. And you kind of want to look out for the monsterlings with your desired link chains. So you can actually farm for their link chains level and you can use it for the long run. So that's for the request bot. Because initially I advocated farming for Chappy Mama, and I realized that like there's just no way for you to encounter some of the really rare bosses. So you did rather use the request bot to find these really rare bosses and farm their materials to level up their link skill or even their monster links. So that's for the request bot side of it. So pointer number 3, I think, is relatively subjective, but I honestly think that investing in a healer type unit is a very big waste of resources. So I did level up Francis a little bit because she's like the poster girl, pretty hot stuff. But I realized that a lot of the game modes, especially the late game ones in this game, they have a timer, right? So it's time-based and they typically want you to finish the fight within 5 minutes as fast as possible to clear through the runs in general. So what this means is having a healer which doesn't offer much outside of healing is not going to boost your pacing of the run. Unless, for example, if you're using Francis in an Earth-specific team against, for example, Dorsini right here, right? So that's the only case where I think Francis as an Earth unit is useful, but that is the unit being useful for the element, but not the healer position. So this is where I think healers are kind of wasted or shouldn't be of top priority to be invested, because there are other ways for you to get heals. So one, you can get your revive with items in cooking. And for the general adventures, because you get a lot of those teleportation wards, you can simply just teleport back to your nearest ward to get full recovery before the boss fights. And last but not least, there's actually quite a few really good link chain monster link that offers heal. So I'll just showcase two of them which I use a lot. So Goric as well as Chappy Mama one. So you guys know me. These two are like my go-to because I don't run any healers, right? I want to maximize my damage. So this is where their rank effect that offers heal whenever you trigger something is really helpful. So that's that. I think there's probably more. Let me just do a quick run through of all the different rank effects I have. So Goric right here has this. So you can equip multiple Gorics to all your units to keep them alive if you're not very confident with your skill. Because like this is just 10 basic attacks which are very easy to achieve, especially for units with rapid basic attack firing like Cloud for example. So that's with regards to like the heal portion. Personally, I think healers can be utilized in the later stages where the boss hits really hard, but generally so far I don't think they are of a priority, right? If you really struggle to survive in the later stages, then you maybe want to train them. But in the early game, if you really struggle with the normal PvE, then you just lower the difficulty and progress through nonetheless, right? So like it is actually not needed. Like healers, especially in the progression side, is not so important. So I personally won't recommend you invest in them that early in the game. Next up, let's talk about the special event. So personally, I think the special event is not something which you need to use your keys for this early in the game. Not because you shouldn't do it. In fact, you should try to clear everything, clear all the missions, get everything. But this event actually lasts for quite a while. Like this event lasts for like another 17 days. And for the missions portion, there's still like 24 days to clear everything to get out of the shop. So for the event stages, what you want to do is at least level your units to level 60 first, and then try to do as many gacha pulls as possible, because there's a possibility that you can get all these other 4-star units from the general character banners. So you get all these additional bonuses. So you're able to farm for your efficiency side, right? And you want to use your early keys to get your units powered up first. So that's why I think for the newer players, you shouldn't spend too much on this one. Like I realized this after doing a few runs that like I will get those bonuses if I actually have the units here, and you can actually spend the currency to get the units from over here, right? So there's a possibility that they will drop here, and even if you're not going for Esther's banner, if you do all the side quests, you do your dailies, and then you complete all your missions, you can use the currency to do your character's pulls to potentially get them and get the additional point bonus later on. So like the early key should be spent for progressing, and then once you are powered up, once you're strong enough to clear through the late game contents, then that's where you go into the event and start clearing them and get your resources there. So that's with regards to the Maid and Clover Inn event. So the fifth mistake, or the fifth pointer to note, is something which I think might be subjective to the more casual player base, because maybe you want to play the game in a less hardcore manner. But for those of you guys who want to power up your monster link, you want to complete your collection, then running through the maps of certain common spawn bosses is going to be quite important. So like for example, Cappy Mama right here is basically something I farm every single day, and I'm pretty much done with whatever monsters that appear in Virtue's Forest right here. So I think it's not practical for you to run through every map every single day, but what you can do on a day-to-day basis, especially after you are done with all the main quests as well as the side quests, is to run through the maps where you are farming for the specific boss monster links. So like for example, for Cappy Mama, I just run through the whole thing, farm everything here, and then I'll run through everything here. So this one is for Water Slime. So this is for the slime boss for the rank 2 monster link. And then Gorik's map is also something which I farm every single day as well. So right now, I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. I don't farm every single map because you just don't have the time. But like ideally, you want to farm for the maps where you have certain boss monsters that always spawn. So you farm the boss monster and then you just run through the map to get the collection bonuses. And then subsequently, I think set some, I'll say like benchmarks for your monster codex, because my first step is to farm up my desired link chains, right? So once you're done with all this, by the time you're done with all this, you probably have all the collection for the units on that map. Then that's where you move on to your next objective, either farming new bosses or farming the other maps to complete your codex, because codex actually grants you quite a fair bit of rewards right here, and also this additional badge to just put on your profile. So the monster codex is a good benchmark to get a healthy late game, because this game, other than the bossing, the boss fights, the stories, as well as the progression side, is also about monster collection. So this is actually a pretty cool concept. So setting benchmark here will help you manage your FOMO factor, because like you might be worried, oh no, everybody's doing this farming every single day, right? And no, that's not the case, because like there are certain players that have limited times. So what I'm suggesting is, for this part, you want to set benchmarks for yourself. I'll say the first step is to farm for the very common bosses first, and then next move on to other objectives. So that's for the monster codex portion. And that's pretty much it. I think just 5 simple pointers that I think all players should know in terms of the general gameplay for this game so far, at least based off my experience. So if there's more moving forward, we'll talk about it. And if there's more discovery for other things to take note of, we'll talk about that as well. If not, thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.